Greetings. Welcome to this episode of Healing Courageously. On this episode, we're going to be talking about dating. My wife and I, we counsel a lot. We mentor. I can't speak the right word out there. So we mentor a lot of couples, counsel a lot of couples. And one of the things that we really emphasize to them that needs to be done is that they never stop dating. And my wife and I have been married for 38 years now, and even in our busiest times of our life, raising our kids, working real hard, building careers and so on and so forth, we never really quit dating. We always had time for ourselves. And I think for a successful marriage, that's a critical aspect that needs to be upheld. Too many people, they fall into the marriage situation. It's all, bubbles and rainbows and unicorns for a while, and they don't realize that marriage isn't easy. It takes a lot of work. My wife and I, we're one of the lucky ones in our times that are still married after 38 years. I think the divorce rate's up to around 50% last I checked. I haven't checked for a while, but that was the last time that I checked. It was 50% of a divorce rate. And, it's marriage isn't easy. Marriage is a lot of work, and we have to, I don't think we realize that. I think we go into it thinking that, hey, this is great, we're falling in love, everything's nice, we haven't really we really haven't dealt with a lot of life's issues yet. And not only that, a lot of us carry into our marriages, we carry a lot of garbage, a lot of baggage into our marriage. So, before marriage, in the courting time, dating should be an important issue. That should be a time that you get to know each other, that it's nice to go out to bars and go out to dinner with friends and have drinks and so on and so forth. But I think that dating period of our courtship is a time that we should really get to know each other. And although there's a lot to learn about each other, and that most of it you'll only learn over time. That's been our experience, is that you never stop learning about each other. You never stop learning about each other's quirks and whatnot. So, but dating is a good way to keep in touch with each other, especially when you're building a career, especially when you're building a career and raising a family. Even if it's 20 minutes a day, 20 minutes, a week, once a week. If that's all you can squeeze in, put it on your calendar like a business appointment, and you don't miss it for nothing. You make that meeting every week, and you leave your phone in your car, and it's just you and your partner, and you just sit down and you enjoy each other. You get caught up in that 20, 30 minutes about what's going on during the week, what's going on in your work life, what's going on in home, whatever you can do, just to stay connected at a deeper level, not a surface level. It's real easy to be surface level married, but that's not going to last forever. You need a deeply rooted marriage. You need to be able to go and be really intimate with your partner, and I don't mean sexually intimate. I mean communicationably, if that's even a word. Intimate. The real intimacy actually isn't sex. That's good. Sex is a byproduct of emotional intimacy. When you and your wife can talk about the deep things in life, where you can sit down and understand each other. So that can happen on your date nights when you don't have to worry about your kids. My wife and I can't express it enough to the couples that we work with. You put it in your calendar like an important business meeting, period. You have to do it. There's a lot of things in life we don't like to say you have to do or you must do, but in order for a marriage to last and become deeper in intimacy and draw closer to each other, you've got to make time for each other, period. Absolutely. It's an essential and vital part of a long-lasting marriage and relationship. In my book, or in my devotional, I'll say that's what I'm going to read it from right now. It's my I've got one devotional that's dedicated to dating, and I started off with Colossians 3:23. It says, "Whatever you do, work at it with all your heart, as working for the Lord, not for human matters." Whatever you do, not some of the things you do, not this thing that you do or that thing. Whatever you do, work at it with all your heart. The reality is, for a successful relationship, there's some priorities that my wife and I look at. And number one is God. God's got to be at the center of your relationship. And then number two, the number one ministry in your life is your family and your spouse. And then from there, work. Now, my priorities when I got in recovery that my mentor told me, and I've shared them with some of the people that I've worked with, and they work really well, and they're hard to understand and hard to really go by, is number one is God. Number two is recovery. Number three is physical health. Number four is family. And number five is work. And if you, my mentor, I did it. I've had other people that have followed those priorities exactly to the same. And our lives have thrived because of it. Too many people put work as the number one priority in their life, and I feel that's wrong. You have a family, and that's what's wrong with the world today. It's that families. Where is dad in the family? That's a whole nother topic I can go on about. But we have to be there for our children. We have to be there for our spouse. It's not we're married, we're bliss, we go on the honeymoon, and we come back, we get back in life, and then boom, we're off, and everything else is more important than our family. It can't be that way. Today, my wife and I have a great dating life. In this 38 years into our marriage, we have a great dating life, which has brought us close together emotionally, spiritually, and physically. It's brought us together in all those aspects. So the question I would have, and this is for men, okay, because we are the spiritual heads of our home. Are you still dating your wife? And I would hope your answer is going to be yes. I hope your answer is yes. At least once a week, a coffee date, once a month. Get away for a weekend. That might be kind of hard when you got the kids, but my wife and I were able to do it. You got grandma and grandpa. If you got a good community of friends and relationship, then you could probably find somebody to watch the kids for a night. You leave Saturday morning, come back Sunday. Go out on a date night once a month. But once a week you meet and you have coffee with your wife or your spouse. But let's be honest, the honeymoon is long over. The honeymoon is long over. And your job is demanding all your time. And you can't take time off because you're trying to climb up a corporate ladder. So you and your family can have a comfortable life. What level of comfortability are you trying to reach? Again, I could go off on the father or even the wife that they're climbing that corporate ladder. They're trying to achieve as much as they can as a businessman, as a employee, as a business owner. They're trying to make it as far up that corporate ladder as they can. But they're sacrificing their family. But they don't see that because they're supplying all these material things for their family. And believe me, I've talked to plenty of men out of recovery and women that would have traded it all if their dad and their mom would have been home for them and been there for them emotionally. So what's your comfort? What level of comfortability, and define comfortability and success? What is that you're looking for? Believe me, I've had it all. I've had money. I've had all the toys. Whatever I wanted to do, wherever I wanted to go. And it's nice to have, but my priorities are messed up, and it just left me empty inside. Because you're busy climbing the corporate ladder or just making a living for you and your family, your spouse is busy with the kids, getting them off to school, picking them up for school, and getting them to and from their soccer games or dance recitals. By the time you both get home, you're exhausted. I've been there. I've done that. You're lucky if you can get 10 minutes with each other without any interruptions before you're out for the night, only to get up in the morning and repeat the dance all over again. Welcome to life. And that was mine and my wife's life for several years. And I don't regret it at all, but we were together a lot. We had 2 boys and a girl that were involved in sports, and sometimes we were on one end of the town, she was on one end of the town, I was in the other. But we also spent a lot of time as a family together. All while I was building a very successful business in construction. I never sacrificed my family. Then one day, what happens? We wake up, and the kids are all grown and out of the home. And it happened like that, faster than you'll ever imagine. We suddenly realize that the woman or the man lying in bed next to us is a complete stranger. Now, don't get your feathers all ruffled. It's still the man or woman we married. We just don't know who they are anymore. The emptiness syndrome. My wife and I were there. And it's a lonely, it's an awkward feeling. Why? Well, it's most likely because we got so caught up in the business of life that we have neglected our relationship with our spouse. We quit flirting with the dating game. We quit flirting with and dating them. The flame eventually burns into an ember and then a spark. I believe when we neglect the spark that our marriage can get in trouble. We cannot neglect that spark. We have to keep the flame flickering. Perhaps the grass begins looking greener on the other side. I know it did for me. The grass was greener on the other side. And the reality is that while the grass might look greener on the other side, why is it looking greener on the other side? It's at that point in time where we really, really need to start looking at our side of the fence. The other side of the fence is greener because it's still fresh. When it starts looking that way, we need to start watering our grass. What can we do to enhance the growth of our grass, of our marriage? My wife and I have gone through all of these, and the spark at one point was all but extinguished. What saved us? We returned to the dating game every week. And it was hard. It took a while to get back in that game. But Randy, you don't understand how busy I am. Yes, I do. You're looking at a man that's had a business, raised a family, so I know how hectic life gets. No, I'm not you. And I know that I'm not you. So, and I'm not pretending to be you. But in a lot of ways, we are all the same. And this is in one way that I am. I own a very large construction company with over 80 employees. My wife is a very successful escrow officer, and we raised 3 children. So I know how life can get in the way. Here's the challenge if you're willing. On Sunday night, sit down with your spouse and pull out your weekly calendar. Then find a day and time that you can meet for 20 or 30 minutes for coffee with your spouse. Block out that day and time and treat it as you would an important business meeting. Do not let anything take its place. Make this a weekly ritual. Every Sunday night. Look at your week. You can carve out 20 minutes somewhere in that week, right? Unless you happen to be somebody that has to travel for business and you might be out of the area. That's the one exception. But you can carve out 20 minutes for your spouse. Next, find one night a month to have a full-blown date night. Maybe dinner and a movie. One night a month. You want your marriage to last. You're wondering why your marriage is dull. You're wondering why things, you're looking at your spouse going, what happened? How did we get here? Well, this is more than likely how. We quit dating. We quit the flirting. These dates are for you and your spouse only. No business calls or social media. Your cell phone is for emergencies only, and make this a priority. Genesis 2:18, the Lord God said, "It is not good for the man to be alone. I will make a helper suitable for him." If you're married, if you're a Christian, God gave you that helper. Even if you're not a Christian, if you're married, you have a woman in your life that you married because you love her at one point in time. There was something in this person, there was something in him or her that you really adored, that you really admired, that you really, really loved. It's still there. It's just been covered up by a lot of the busyness of the world. You can uncover it again simply by starting to date and starting to talk to each other. So, here's the 4 contemplative questions that I have for you. Do you feel like you and your spouse are drifting apart emotionally, physically, and spiritually? Emotionally, physically, and spiritually. Do you feel like you're drifting apart? Be honest. You guys can discuss these questions together or by yourself, write them down. And if you're by yourself and the answer is yes to that, what are you going to do? What is the wedge in your marriage that is separating you from your spouse? What is the wedge in your marriage that is separating you from your spouse? Dig deep. Get honest with yourself. Number 3, what priorities are you putting in front of your spouse? Genesis 5:25. Husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church, and Christ died for the church. Husbands, you have to die daily to self for your wife. I'm not saying in a codependent way. I'm not saying you can't do things that are good for you. But your wife is there. You have to live. The Bible says we will love our wives as Christ loved the church, and Christ gave up his life for the church. It doesn't get any plainer or simpler than that, believe me. And the last one is, what action steps will you take to reignite the flame of compassion with your spouse? And if you don't know, you can reach out to myself or my wife. We do marriage counseling and mentoring, and we can help you reignite your marriage. We've had several people sit down with divorce papers in their hand, ready to get divorced. They're no longer divorcing. It's just a few little things that we got to tweak. Here's a prayer that I have for this devotion. Lord, work in me to shift my priority back to my spouse. My spouse deserves my full attention, love, and support, none of which I have been giving her or him. I give you our relationship to mold and shape into the relationship you have meant it to be all along. My spouse is my helpmate, friend, and lover, not my slave or roommate. Restore our marriage and fill me with the passion I have for her or him when we were first dating. Dating is a key to successful relationships. What's your priority in life? Your family, your spouse, your children, or your work? Whatever you put in front of God and your family, you'll eventually lose. If you make your main priority your job, you're going to lose your family. It might not physically be lost, but you will lose them emotionally and spiritually, I guarantee it. So, if you want to know more about the services that I provide, visit changeyourlifestorynow.com. It's got all my coaching stuff on there, different areas that we cover. My wife and I also do, like I say, marriage counseling. My wife works with women, I work with men. When we do our marriage counseling, we don't believe the marriage is broke. We believe it's the husband and the wife. They're each broken. I use that word loosely, but it's the husband and the wife that carry the baggage into the marriage that's causing the issues in the marriage. And we need to resolve those issues personally in order for the marriage to work in a healthy way. And so my wife will work with the wife, I work with the husband, and then we work together with them as a couple. I'm SIMBA certified as a facilitator with SIMBA Save Your Marriage Before It Starts, which actually works really well with even if you've been married for a long time. It just really realigns you with each other. It lets you know why each person, why people are the way they are in certain areas of your relationship. It's not a psychological test. It's not a personality test. It's none of that. It's an assessment. It's 99.9% accurate. It's absolutely unbelievable what comes out of it. So you check out our services on changeyourlifestorynow.com. Just fill out the contact form. I'll get back to you real quick with that. Also visit our website, courageoushealers.org. We do have our workshops. They are scheduled. They start in September, the second Saturday of September, October, November, December. September 11th is the first one from 9 to 4. Go to courageoushealers.org, click on our services, then click on workshops. You can read about all the workshops, and you can click on the register here button, and you can register right there. The workshops are $75 per workshop, and they are from 9 to 4, so it's a pretty much full day of a workshop that you'll be attending. Our first one is personal communication, and my wife and mine and my wife's opinion and what we're seeing is number one, what we believe is number one cause for relationships kind of falling apart is very poor communication. Well, Randy, we communicate pretty good. Well, we hear that all the time, and it depends on what your definition of communication is. So the first one, like I say, September 11th is it's going to be personal communication, then a journey to you, then secrets and lies, and the very last one in December, right before Christmas, is forgiveness. $75 for a single, $130 for a couple, and if you buy the whole package up front, it's 15% discount for the entire package. I think it's $225 That works out to $225 for a single, $440 for a couple for the entire four workshop series. So we look forward to seeing you there. You can go to, like I say, go to my webpage, courageoushealers.org, and you can see the entire workshop format on our workshop page. Also, don't forget about my book, Healing the Wounded Child Within. You can get it on Amazon, on Audible, paperback, and Kindle. This devotional that we're going through, 30-day devotional of the wholeness, is also on Amazon and Kindle and paperback. And then the 7-day challenge, which is a workbook that goes with Healing the Wounded Child Within, that's available in paperback on Amazon as well. Look forward to seeing you all on our next episode. Until then, remember, if nobody tells you they love you today, Randy does. Everybody be blessed and have a super, super good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you might be and whatever part of the day it is. Enjoy yourself. Be blessed.